you are a G3 A-Math student, watch this video because I'm going to give you the full framework to always break down partial fractions correctly regardless of the type of question. So what I realized after teaching so many batches of A-Math students, both Sec 4 and Sec 3 over the past 3 years, is that partial fractions is one of those concepts that a lot of students initially struggle with because there's a lot of different variations when it comes to the type of questions that can be set. So what I did was that I put together a framework that will always work regardless of the situation. And it can be broken down into these 3 simple steps that you can just always follow to ensure that you get the full credit, assuming you don't make any careless mistakes. So the first step whenever you want to break down anything to partial fractions is to ask yourself this question, right? Is the fraction proper, right? And if it's not proper, you need to break it down using long division. So if not, use long division to break it down. So what do I mean by this? How do we tell whether a fraction is proper or not? All I need to do is to look at the degree of the numerator and the denominator. So we can see that the degree of the numerator is 3, right? The degree is 3. And for the denominator, I have x squared times x. So when I have x squared times x, it will also give me x cubed, right? And that tells me that the degree at the denominator is 3. So if the degree on top is the same as the degree below, that means that it is an improper fraction, right? So if it's an improper fraction, you need to break it down using long division, which is another skill that I will cover in my next video. So make sure you follow up this account so that you can revise how to do long division. Now, assuming that you have already broken down into long division, right? Using long division, you break it down into a proper fraction. That is where you will be able to split it into one of these 3 cases for partial fractions that I will cover over here. So what are the 3 different cases that you can split into partial fractions? So case 1 is when you have a non-identical linear factors. So what I mean by this is, let's say I have something over x plus 1 times x, right? You realize that these 2 are non-identical linear factors each. And therefore, this will give me a over x plus 1 plus b over x. Right? For case 2, it will be when you have identical repeated linear factors. So what this is let's say I have something over x plus 1 squared. Right? X plus 1 squared is basically x plus 1 times x plus 1. So what that means is that I got 2 linear factors that are repeated. And therefore, how I break this down is I'll have a over x plus 1 plus b over x plus 1 squared. Okay, so this is the case 2. Now for case 3 over here is when I have a quadratic factor that can't be factorized. So quadratic factor that can't be factorized. And the way that we break this down is when we have something like a x squared plus 3. You realize over here that x squared plus 3 cannot be factorized because x squared plus 3, if I let it to be 0, x squared equals to negative 3, and I cannot square root a negative number, right? So there's no solution to this, and therefore there's no factors to this. So this one will give us ax plus b over x squared plus 3. Right? And once you break it down properly into the 3 different cases, then step 3 will just be to solve. Right? And that's your typical case of your solving using partial fractions, right? I think that part you all probably will have covered extensively in school already. But these first 2 steps are usually the parts that students always struggle with, and something that I always advocate very strongly and always keep practicing at my Math Tuition Center, A1 Math Academy. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see on this account. And if you're still struggling with your A-Math and you need additional support, watch this video next to find out how. So if you're struggling to understand basic A-Math concepts like the one I went through in this video, and you don't understand whatever your teacher is saying in school, or you have been doing a lot of practice but nothing seems to work, I have the right solution that I've been creating for the past 3 years exactly for you. So this is the library of A1 Math Academy, and I've been working on this project ever since I started tutoring, which at the time of this filming has been about 3 years, right? And you can see that I literally filmed for every single chapter for the A-Math syllabus as well as for the E-Math syllabus as well. But we're just going to focus on A-Math because this is an A-Math video. Now, if let's say I just click on a random A-Math chapter, for example, trigonometry, right? We know that trigonometry is one of those biggest chapters in the entirety of A-Math. And just by clicking into trigonometry over here, you realize that, under syllabus, if you go to syllabus, I filmed a video lesson for every single fundamental concept. So you can scroll all the way down, you can see that every single concept I cover in exact detail, even very difficult concepts that are initially hard to understand like ASTC, I go into it in very in-depth detail over here. And not only that, but I also give you my PDF, my notes that I personally handwritten in this library, which you can download easily over here, right? And also, every single chapter comes with basic questions that you need to understand, exam style questions that you need to understand. I've broken out every single question type that usually comes out in the exam into modular chunks over here so that you can practice by yourself. So if you like access to every single thing that I've just shared with you over here, just WhatsApp the number on the screen over here, and I'll send over more details over there for you to see whether this library is actually a good fit for you or not. And I look forward to seeing you on WhatsApp over here.